Okay, my name is Robert Gilstrap, and I'm coming to you today to give you a little bit of information about the Section 8 program. A lot of landlords come to us and ask, hey, do you take Section 8? And they really don't have an understanding of what the program is, but hey, their friends have told them, hey, it's Skittles and Rainbows, it's free money, and it's money coming from the United States government. Well, that's true, it is. The Section 8 program is really the Housing Assistance Program, which is administered by HUD, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And then that's pushed down to the state level and then the local housing authority level in cities and towns across the United States. And essentially it gives, subsidizes a subsidized rent payment to a tenant who could otherwise not afford the full amount of rent. And the big plus for the landlord and the major pro is that you're getting most or all of your money from the United States government direct deposited into your bank account. They don't do checks anymore. It's got to go directly into a bank account. And that's a good thing, right? But as with most things, especially dealing with the United States government, there are big cons that can go with that one pro. And not the least of which is that you're entering into a contract with the United States government. And I shouldn't have to tell you that they expect a lot of stuff in order to get their money. And so there's a lot of strings attached to getting that money. Not the least of which is this document right here. This is called a HAP addendum. And this is a 17-page addendum to your lease. And I don't know about you, but I, being a professional landlord, have a phenomenal lease that is very, very pro-landlord and has a lot of teeth to it, and I exert a lot of control with that lease. Well, when you sign up for the Section 8 program and you have to sign this HAP addendum in order to get the money from the government, I can just assure you in these, these 17 pages of tiny mouse type that virtually all the teeth have been taken out of your lease and superseded by this addendum. And that's a big problem because lots of things are covered in that addendum. Another thing that's going to happen before you can even get approved for Section 8 is your house has to pass. So somebody has to come out and inspect that house, and they're going to go through it, an inspector will, and he is going to point out all the things that need to be fixed in order for it to meet minimum standards for HUD. And it sounds easy, but it's not as easy as you might think. And without going into it, I can just assure you that there's always going to be something you're going to need to repair for the most part. Second, along with that initial approval inspection is a yearly inspection. And this is where a local Section 8 person from the Housing Authority is going to come out, inspect the unit, and they're going to find out if there's anything wrong. And so it's one more inspection that's going to happen. They're going to send you a sheet of paper like this that outlines some more details about what you need to do. And for instance, I just got one the other day on a property that we manage, and it was all about the deck. The deck on the back of this house needed to be replaced in the eyes of the Section 8 inspector. Now, that may not be a big deal to you, but to the owner of this property, that's going to be a $6,000 fix. And it's a huge ordeal. Well, you could just say, well, gosh, I'll just not do that. Unfortunately, the HAP addendum doesn't allow that. And essentially, whatever that inspector says is what goes as far as repairs are concerned. And they pretty much will stop paying you rent. The HAP addendum also says the tenant can stop paying you rent, and you can't evict them because you failed to repair what they've told you to repair. So that can be a huge deal when Big Brother gets to tell you what to do with your property. With the other things with Section 8, initially there's going to be a little bit of extra time in order to get the ACH stuff set up to get the money deposited into your bank. So it's usually, you're not going to be like a traditional rental where somebody hands you a check and then move in. It's just not going to happen that way. Other problems are problems raising the rent. You have to get essentially the government's approval before you can raise rent on a Section 8 tenancy. And it's just an extra step of paperwork that you're going to have to go through, and then you're going to have to gain their approval for it as well. Something else that a lot of people don't think about, but it actually does happen, is the Section 8 program. If it runs out of money, they stop paying the rent, and it can run out of money. Congress defunds these programs all the time, and they only have so much allotted each year, and they can run out of money. And if they do, guess what? They stop paying rent, and that's all very legal. Something else, there's extra notice requirements too, covered in that HAP addendum, and it's going to cause you to have to notify the housing authority for a lot of different things that you normally wouldn't need to do. So for instance, if you ever got ready to evict someone, you've got to notify the housing authority as well and notify them first. Just a lot of different things that have to go with it. Some common misnomers that we run across with landlords is they're under the impression that when you're a Section 8 landlord, that the government will somehow cover a loss in rents if the tenant skips out in the middle of the night or doesn't fulfill the term of their lease or damages the unit, that the government will make good on that and make you whole. And that is absolutely not true. The government says, hey, if you want a deposit, get a deposit from the tenant. But other than that, they're not going to meet anything. You still have to sue the tenant. Another common misnomer, and the last thing I'll talk about to cut this short, is that you think you can get higher rent. And that one's been going on for years, where people think, well, gosh, I've got a unit for $800, and except with the government, they're dumb, and why not? They buy $200 hammers and $1,000 toilet seats. Maybe they'll pay $1,500 a month for my house that's only worth $800. It's just not true. And the Section 8 is very, like many parts of the government, they study things very clearly and closely, and they know that what things should be getting for rent and what they shouldn't be, and so you're just not going to get any higher rent. So anyway, all that stuff being said, these are just a few details that you really need to consider closely before you decide to take on a Section 8 tenant, and that's it. Thank you.